Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nesty. Today I'm going to be showing you guys two builds for the M4A1. The M4A1 has long been one of the top choices for high level play in Escape from Tarkov. Chances are you'll definitely come across a few of these in your Tarkov adventures, and they may all be modified differently. This is because of the new attachment changes they introduced in patch 12.9. They nerfed ergonomics on a bunch of weapons and also a bunch of attachments. This means there are currently multiple viable meta builds for the M4A1. However, I believe the build I'm about to show you combines the best ergonomics with the best recoil without sacrificing either one. So as the title suggests, I'm going to be going over the full meta build for the M4A1 and also giving you guys a build that is a bit cheaper but gets pretty damn close to the meta stats for the M4 as well. So if all that sounds good, then please keep watching. Also, if you guys do like the video, please remember to leave a like. It helps me out a lot, and if you would consider subscribing, that would also help me out greatly as well. But yeah guys, onto the video. Okay, we are back in our stash. I have both of the builds already pre-made here for you guys, so you can show you both of them the stats. There is the meta one and here is the budget one. Put these side by side. As you can see, the meta one has 61 ergonomics. This is actually with a 60 round mag as well, so you don't have to sacrifice leaving the 60 mag at home. You can still have good ergonomics even with the 60 mag. Obviously, for the budget option, we've gone for the 30 round mags to save on cost and also to save on ergonomics as well. So you kind of get the best of both worlds with the bang for buck, and you get the best of everything really with the meta one. The real difference here is when we talk about the price. So the price of the meta M4 currently is around 300 to 350k, depending on if you can get things cheaper from the flea market. And the price for the budget M4 comes in at around about 100 to 140k-ish, I think. Again, depending on if you can get things a bit cheaper from the flea market. So there is a huge difference in price. However, if you look at the statistics of the weapon, ergonomics, we're looking relatively the same. Granted, there is a smaller magazine in the budget option, and recoil reduction, there is a bit of a difference here, but that is to be expected when you are going for a budget option weapon. But 53 recoil on an M4 is very, very manageable. So now we're in the preset lobby. Let's begin by building the M4 from the ground up. So if we just get rid of all this. So now we have the base model of the gun. Just in case you guys do not know, if you hover over this and click the arrow to expand it, you can see the statistics of the weapon and how each attachment you're about to add will modify those statistics. So starting off with the upper receiver, we do have 5 options to choose from, and some of them do give very decent stats, like the Novesk Gen 3 gives very decent ergonomics, but also gives a little bit of recoil reduction. In this case, the Mur upper receiver gives us the best of both, which is +8 ergonomics and -6 recoil. So we hit that on there. Next up, we have the barrel. So we do have a couple of good options here for the barrel. As you can see, the 406mm does offer 6 recoil and -14 ergonomics, which is quite high. If you check out the 370mm, it gives less of an ergonomic hit and also still gives the same kind of recoil reduction. So it's the best in this scenario. Next up, we have the handguard. So there's nothing new from the last wipe. The SAI quad rail is still going to be the best in slot, giving us a huge bump in ergonomics and quite a significant reduction in recoil control. Moving on to the stock, we're going to be using the same one we used last wipe, which is the advanced buffer tube. And on that, we do have 2 options to put on here. So if you're looking for the highest recoil reduction, that is now the Gen 3 stock. There is 2 colors available to you. If I can find the second one, here it is. As you can see, these both give you -50 recoil, which is a huge bump in recoil reduction. However, it does take away a lot of the ergonomics from the weapon. So if you hover over the MOE stock, MOE carbine stock, now it doesn't allow us, oh it does actually, sorry, my mistake, to put the rubber butt pad on. As you can see, we're down to 76 and 69 ergonomics, so you do get a huge bump in ergonomics using this recoil pad. And also, if you check the recoil at 76 versus 69, if you were to put on the Gen 3 stock, look at the amount of ergonomics we just lost versus 1 point of recoil reduction. In my opinion, simply not worth it. The MOE stock with the rubber butt pad is just a better all-around option, I think. So let's pop that back on. Now moving on to the pistol grip. For this, there are 2 options and they both actually have the exact same stats. You can go for the Ergo or you can go for the Growl S. As you can see, they both have the exact same stats. The Growl S is actually slightly lighter. Doesn't actually affect the ergonomics of the weapon. I don't believe we're talking about a couple of grams lighter maybe here, so it's really up to yourself. Whichever one you can get cheaper. I think the Growl S normally goes for cheaper than the Ergo, but the Ergo does look better aesthetically, I think. But as we're not going for aesthetics, we're going for pure statistics and best bang for buck here. The Growl S is going to be your #1 choice, in my opinion. Moving up to the bolt, The bolt has multiple options as well. A couple of these are the exact same statistics. Again, I believe the Raptor has the same as the AR-15, right? Yeah, it does. So as you can see, +3, +3, +3. You can pretty much choose whichever one you like the look of here, because they're all exactly the same. And if you have high level traders, they'll go for relatively the same price. I think the Raptor does be a little bit more expensive, but in this case, we're going to pop it on because I like the look of it. And even though I said we're not going for aesthetics, this one just look way better than the 8R one. I mean, come on, look at this. That looks terrible. So yeah, let's the Raptor one back on there. Scope is personal preference. However, I do recommend you put on a front and rear sight. There are multiple ones to choose from. Again, in the previous patch, only one of these sights gave you +1 ergonomics. It was the M-Bus sight. Now, multiple of these sights will give you +1 ergonomics. So the CAC rear sights, the Defiance rear sights will give you +1. There should be other ones. The M-Buses, both of them, both colors will give you +1 ergonomics. So you guys can pick whichever one you like the look of. I'm personally going to go for the M-Bus. We're going to use the FDE because I like the look of those. So put the front one on it as well. These both give you 1 extra ergonomics, and they cost very little, so +2 ergonomics for a very little investment. Moving on to the gas block, there are 2 options. Again, one of them favors ergonomics and one of them favors recoil. If you want an extra couple of points of ergo, I would go for the MK12. It's also a little bit cheaper as well if you want to save a few bucks there. But the JPG, in my opinion, is probably a little bit better. It does give you 2 points of recoil reduction. And for the price of the cost, when you have the traders unlocked to buy it, it's super cheap that way. However, if you're looking to get this from the flea market, I do believe it goes for quite a bit. So just keep that in mind. Then if you have shorter funds available to build the weapon, go for the MK12. Gives you extra ergonomics at the price of 2 recoil reduction. Moving on to the flash hider, this is where the difference from last wipe is coming into play. So a bunch of these suppressors got changed. It used to be the Daniel Defense Wave QD and I believe it was the Surefire suppressor. They both had really good stats last wipe. Now it's actually the Blackout suppressor that has the best stats offered for the M4s. So if we just find see if we can find it here, the AAC Blackout. And on top of that, we're going to stick on the SDN sound suppressor. Now we have to make sure we stick on a 4.1 inch guide so that we can attach a good grip onto the weapon. In my opinion, there's only one choice here. If you're looking to get the best statistics, that is going to be the Fortish shift grip. It simply offers fantastic ergonomics with very decent and respectable recoil reduction as well. Now, it used to be the B25 inch or the B25U mount was the best grip you could possibly get on the M4. That is not the case in the current meta. This grip has been nerfed significantly. Look, the ergonomics has been pretty much nerfed into the ground. So this grip, in my opinion, is quite useless. The RK2, pretty much useless in my opinion now. It gives negative ergonomics and only for a little bit more recoil reduction than the shift offers. I don't think it's worth it. So the Fortish shift grip offering +9 and -3 is going to help us out a ton in the ergonomic department. We're going to make our weapon faster to ADS, going to make it easier to ADS and hold the ADS for longer. It's also going to make lifting the gun up from sprint faster as well, which is very important if you're playing quite quickly. Basically, there's no better grip, I think, for the M4 than the Fortish shift grip currently. If you want to pop a laser on the gun, that is personal preference as well. Obviously, you can do so. And for the magazine, I like to slap the PMag 60 rounders on there. Personal preference on this one, guys. Again, if you want to run 30 rounders, you're going to save yourself a ton of ergonomics. As you can see, the 60 rounders do tank this quite a bit in comparison to, say, the Gen 2 30 rounders. But if you're running a gun like this, I feel like it's better to have more ammunition in the gun ready to fire rather than having the 30 rounders, but you have to reload more often. If you're coming up against a Chad group of 3 or 4 people, it's going to be very difficult to drop them at 1 mag of 30. So P round 60 rounders is what I run personally in this, but it's personal preference, guys. And obviously, guys, the scope that you want to put in this weapon is going to be personal preference as well. However, the larger scopes do give a larger ergonomic hit. So if you were to put, say, a JP 30mm on here and slap a Voodoo on there, you are going to be tanking your ergonomics that way as well. So just keep that in mind. I normally run these with, say, maybe a hammer scope or just a PKO6 just to keep the ergonomics up. If I'm going into a map like Interchange, I'll stick on a hammer scope. And if I'm going for, say, Shooter Born in Heaven using an M4 or a HK, that's when I would generally tend to look for maybe like a Voodoo scope on top of them, because these guns are very good with their bullet velocity. So it makes tapping heads quite easy. Anyways guys, that is the build for the meta M4. Let's move on to the budget M4. Okay, we're back in the lobby with our budget M4. As you can notice, I did change my clothes. This is actually recorded on a different day. I was starting to feel a little bit ill when I was recording the first half of this. I noticed my voice was starting to go, so I decided to take a bit of a break, and now we're back at it again. So let's continue on with our budget M4. So if you want to, just go ahead and quickly pause the screen. If you don't really want me to talk about the attachments, just obviously pause and look at what's here and replicate it, and off you go. If you do want me to talk about the attachments though, of course I am going to, so you can continue watching, I guess, and we can talk about the attachments and why I chose to pick these attachments. So let's go ahead and get rid of all these, and we will start from the base like we did with the meta M4, and we'll build it up from the start. Okay, now we have our base M4. Let's start with the receiver again. For the receiver, we're just going to be using the standard M4 receiver. This will save you around about 20k. Again, you can kind of take this build with a grain of salt. If you have a small bit more money to spend, I would go for the Gen 3. As you can see, you do get a good chunk of ergonomics added on to this build. The Gen 3 would be the next step up, I would recommend. It's about 25k from the flea market. So, but for now, obviously we're going to go for the M4A1 upper. Next up for the barrel, we're going to use the same one we use on the meta build, which is the 370mm barrel. I think this actually gives you the best bang for buck either way. I would use this on my meta build, and I would use it on the budget build. The only one that's better is the 20-inch barrel, and it's only better in terms of recoil reduction, so it does take away a lot of your ergonomics. But if you're looking for pure recoil reduction, the 20-inch barrel is better. So for the budget-oriented build, we're going to be sticking with the 370mm barrel. So now we're moving on to the stock. Now for this one, we're going to be using just the Colt buffer tube. However, if you do have max traders and you are still looking to do a budget-oriented build, I would definitely go for the advanced buffer tube here. It goes for around 10k for mechanic tier 4, so if you don't have mechanic tier 4, it can be quite expensive from the flea market. I think it's around about 100k, which is quite ridiculous. So yeah, definitely if you have mechanic tier 4, go for the advanced one. But if you do not, I would recommend using the regular standard Colt buffer tube. And on top of that, we're going to be putting on the MOE stock again, which is subsequently the stock that we use for the meta build as well. There really is no other stock in that price point that's going to offer you the same statistics as the MOE stock does. I think it's a fantastic stock for the price that you get, especially when you put the rubber butt pad on the back of it. So as you can see, our ergonomics jumps up quite a bit there by sticking on the MOE stock with the butt pad. Now we get to the handguard. In my opinion, this handguard is fantastic for the price. The MK10, if I can find it here, the MK10. So you unlock this with, I believe it's mechanic tier 3. Even if you don't have mechanic tier 3, it goes for the same price in the flea market. Most of the time it's around about 25 to 27,000, I think. This just gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you plus 8 ergonomics, minus 4 recoil. Basically exactly what we're looking for here. So the MK10 goes on. And now moving on to the gas block. There's only one choice here really that suits our budget oriented build, which is going to be the MK12. We cannot use the M4, we cannot use the pick, and the JPG is too expensive for a budget oriented build. Even though they kind of give similar but reversed stats, this gives more ergonomics. Sorry, this one gives less ergonomics, this gives more recoil. This one gives more ergonomics and slightly less recoil reduction, but it is substantially cheaper. So for this build, we're going to be going with the MK12. Now taking it back a bit to the pistol grip, the Stark AR is a direct competitor to the Graal S and the Ergo, giving a whopping 11 ergonomics, which is more than every single one of these other pistol grips, and it's quite cheap. You can pick up the Stark AR from Peacekeeper level 4 for around $45, and not around $45, exactly $45, or you can pick it up on the flea market for 17,000 to 20,000, give or take on the day, which is very cheap in comparison to what you would get. When you look at the Graal S, we're looking at around 50k if you can't get them from traders. So in comparison to what you get, you're getting quite a bit of statistics for your money. So the Stark AR definitely fits our needs here for budget orientated and decent stats. Now let's go to the bolt. For the bolt, I would definitely recommend going for either the ones that give you plus 3 ergonomics. I think the AR charging handles do be a bit cheaper than the Raptor charging handles, so we're going to stick on the AR-15 one. When it comes to rear sights, the M buses are always going to be more expensive. I would say choose any of the rear sights that give you plus 1 besides the M bus, because they're the most expensive ones, and they give you the exact same amount of stats as the CAC rears and the Defiance rear sights. These are both going to be cheaper than the M buses. Let's stick on the KAC. Now moving on up to the handguard, we just stick on the MK10 10-inch rail, and on this 10-inch rail we're going to be sticking on the SE5. This is a direct competitor to the Fortis shift grip. So if you look at the shift grip, this gives +9 and -3, and this gives +8 and -3. So it's very, very similar. However, substantially cheaper. Yeah, this grip is fantastic. Before I had Peacekeeper level 4 and I could buy the 40 shift grip for cheap, this is the grip that I would always run. It's around about 25k, but it's totally worth it for the stats that you get. Now finally onto the flash hider and suppressor. So for the flash hider, we're going to be using the KAC QD. And on top of that, we're going to be sticking on the NT4. Doesn't matter which one you choose. I think the FDE does normally go for a bit cheaper. I think it's just an aesthetic reason. But there you have it. Now you can see our ergonomics are 65, our recoil is 53, and for the magazine we're going to be going with the battle mags as they give the lowest ergonomic hit. As you can see, some of these 30 rounders do give you -3, some of them give you -4 I think, or maybe just -3 is the highest ergonomic hit you can take, but the battle mag only gives you a -2 ergonomic hit, so in my opinion that's going to be the best one for you. And then scope is going to be personal preference, guys, so if you like short range or long range you can pick whatever scope you want. Let's just stick on a XPS 3, sure, why not? And the total cost of this gun without the scope is going to be around about 130k. Then you kind of add on whatever scope you want to use. So for, let's say, around about 150 to 160k, you're getting a very decent M4 with very good ergonomics for what you're paying for, and very decent recoil control as well. Alright guys, thank you so much for making this part of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed both of the builds. If you did, please let me know down in the comment section below if you plan on using any of the builds, because that would, you know, be beneficial to everybody really. If you did like the video, please leave a like. Also, if you would consider subscribing, that would help me out greatly as well. Links will be in the description if you would like to come watch me play Tarky on the live. Yeah, that's right, I play Tarkov live. I'm a Twitch streamer sometimes. If you would like to come watch me play Tarkov live or join my Discord, the links are in the description down below. And also, I hope you guys have a great day. That's pretty much all. Goodbye.